Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Marquette Hoops Basketball Show with the great John Dodds. I'm Tom Pippins, and we are brought to you by Moonlight Graham, Modern Dental Benefits. Moonlight Graham, proud sponsor, and we are so grateful to Craig Caston. And speaking of Craig Caston, a great connection off the court with a gentleman by the name of Bo Ellis, of course, a star player on the 1977 Warriors national championship team, and the opportunity to speak with him was he's a treasure, John.
He really is. Bo, on the court, he's the only Marquette player ever to play in 2 Final Fours and 2 championship games in '74 and '77. But basketball is what he does, not who he is. And he's been able to work with Craig Caston over the years and Craig Caston's foundation to do great work in Milwaukee, locally in Milwaukee Public Schools, and in Africa and Tanzania.
Yeah, and we say that basketball can define people, but it does not define Bo Ellis, and what a dynamic duo Craig Caston and Bo Ellis are. So we want to get right into Bo, one of the finest gentlemen you will ever meet. And again, he is brought to you on this show by Moonlight Graham, proud sponsor of our program, Modern Dental Benefits. Moonlight Graham. Here is Bo Ellis, the treasure. Bo, it's wonderful to see you, and I mean it, you look fabulous.
All right, thank you, Tom. I'm glad to be here, and thanks for having me on. And always a pleasure to see you and Dodsy, and to do whatever it is that you need me to do or share my wits and wisdoms. I truly love that, and it's fun to be here, and glad to talk to you about these different topics that we're going to discuss today.
Yes, and you do have a lot of wit and wisdom, spiritual wisdom too. And Bo, why don't we start right in? Craig Caston, of course, you're a great combination, Caston and Ellis. And tell us about your relationship a little bit, especially as it relates to our main sponsor, Moonlight Graham. We'll get into SkyGen, and we'll just follow your lead.
Well, some years ago, after I had lost my daughter, Nicole, Craig and I got together because years later he had a similar circumstance with his daughter, and that's where our bond became. And I was doing a few things for the Milwaukee Bucks. I had been doing the scouting for 3 years, but it wasn't going kind of the way that I liked. So one day Craig and I was talking, and I like, Craig, I'm about ready to step out of my comfort zone and my box. I like, is there some things that you can think that I can help you with the new things that you're doing? And then he said, Bo, yes, there is. He said, I'd like to do some things in the community, you know, for the underserved kids. Like, you know, a lot of kids don't have warm hats. And he said, I'd like to do some things where, you know, we buy some Marquette basketball hats, promote, you know, Marquette basketball, but also talk about, you know, the dental program at Scion Dental, which is pretty much the same thing as Moonlight Graham in a lot of ways, but just upgraded to newer technology with Moonlight Graham. So I started to go into the elementary schools and a couple Catholic schools. I went to some different charter schools all around, and I would talk about, you know, Marquette basketball, talk to the kids, and then I would also talk about how important dental care was. And at that time, we were actually even thinking about figuring out how we could, you know, help serve the kids. I go into the schools, you know, I talk a little bit about my background and how I got to where I am and the different challenges I had as a youngster, especially in the classroom, and kind of talk to the kids about, you know, when you don't know something, don't be afraid to ask, and tell them that, you know, basketball in school is a lot alike. It's repetition. Like in basketball, the more you do it, the better you become at it. Well, it's the same way in the classroom for, you know, elementary school kids. You know, the more you do it, the more you see a problem, and just different things like that, and giving them some different outlooks about it. But, you know, really talking about how important your dental health is while you're young, because as you get older, a lot of times when I tell the kids, when you don't take care of your teeth, when you get older, it starts to do a lot of other problems. So that's how that whole thing, you know, came about with Craig, and you know, it's a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah, this is kind of fun here. Skygen is, he's referring to it as GM, and Moonlight Graham is the Cadillac.
That's a good point. I like that.
Yeah. And this is really right where your heart is, Bo, because anyone who knows Bo Ellis on any level, okay, he is a basketball legend, Marquette, has been, always will be. But I think you're a legend off the court, and that's why I have so much respect for you and admiration, and everybody feels the same way who gets to know you and to care for you. That's your heart, is serving other people.
That's when I was, after our freshman year at Marquette, we used to do a lot of things in Chicago in the summertime with the Abe Saperstein Foundation. So Abe Saperstein's daughter, she would put together a lot of former pros and 2 ex-Harlem Globetrotters, Leon Hillard and Mel Davis, who were both from Chicago. And after my freshman year at Marquette, going to the national championship and stepping out on that big stage, when I came home that summer and we was working, they taught me how to go to the neighborhoods to a lot of kids and use my platform to show them that they were capable of coming out of there and being successful like myself. And they actually taught us how to go and actually give back, and that's where I got my start from doing the type of things that I do now. And if it wasn't for those two sharing their stories, their experiences, you know, from the 50s when they were growing up to, you know, 20 years later to the 70s when I was coming up in the 60s, it showed me that, you know, what I do and my successes can help a lot of other young men that came up like me. And by them seeing what I've been able to do, it opens their eyes and lets them know that, yes, you can be the same as Bo Ellis because I'm just like you. You are me and I am you. And that's what I talk to the kids about. And it's important to me, the thing that counts most in life is what we do for others. And I have another one Muhammad Ali always said, and I love it, and I think it's on his tombstone. He says, services we do for others pays our rent for our room in heaven. Wow. And I've always loved that. So that's kind of that's how I got into giving back, and not only in the coaching profession, but just the game of life and, you know, the things that I went through coming up. So, you know, that's what it's all about, and that's important to me.
You have a golf outing, you and Candy. Daz, I want to bring you in because you've seen it firsthand to talk to Bo about that wonderful outreach in Nikki's name.
Sure, it's a great golf outing, one of the top golf outings you can go to in the year down in Lake Geneva. And you know, listening to Bo, you always strike me as someone who basketball is something you did. It wasn't who you were. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That's kind of like what sets you apart from a lot of the people I've talked with over the years or observed in at Marquette or with the Bucks or even the Packers. It's kind of like your image is something different. Who you are is intrinsically what you do in the community, which we've always respected greatly. Yeah, that golf outing, it's always sunny, and every year you say that it's been. How many years in a row? And did Majerus, who helped you originally get the idea of doing it?
Well, the whole idea, it's funny. I used to do a lot of them as a celebrity for a lot of other people, you know, as a coach and as a professional athlete. And I golfed a little bit, and I got into it more when Kevin O'Neill came, because Kevin, we would do some things. So, but one day I sat down with Steve Overall and Guy Lamb, and we were just sitting around talking about it because Steve Overall at that time was running Lenny Chappell's golf outing for a lot of years and stuff. So I kind of mentioned to it and told him I would like to do something like that. And, you know, Vobes and Guy said we could work on that because Guy was still working at Midwest Sporting Goods at that time, knew a lot of people. And so that we started talking about it, and you know, I started to think about the different things that I had did in the past and the different ones I had did for other people, and I like, we can do this. And then I talked to a few other people at Marquette, Valerie Wilson Reed. I was wondering, you know, how can we do the golf outing, raise some money, and serve students at Marquette? So she told me about the Ralph Metcalf Scholarship Fund. So that's how everything got in motion for the golf outing. And now it's coming up this year. It'll be 15 years that we've been doing it, and served a lot of young people to, you know, with monies to help prolong their college careers, and help pay for the different things, and give them the monies that's necessary. And then whoever was the scholarship winners for the Ralph Metcalf Scholarship Award, that's how we determine who we would give the money through the golf outing every year. Then I brung in former Marquette players, so it's kind of a part of actually, you know, raising money and to give back, because, you know, we were all very fortunate to be able to go to Marquette on scholarship. So that was a blessing for us. So I felt by having them come and be a part of it, that's their way of giving back also for what our blessings was, and that's how we do. So they come, pair them up with different groups, and, you know, we just have a good time, and it's kind of a way for us to get together and have fun again every summer, because, you know, we're getting older too, so we don't see each other as much as we used to. And it also ties in the young and the old. I've been fortunate enough to be around Marquette for a lot of decades, so I know everybody from the 60s. I played in the 70s. I coached in the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s, so that's how the whole thing jumped off, and that's how we've been able to do it, and that's how we've been able to keep Nikki's name alive and keep students smiling and help them in whatever ways we can, make things easier for them as they go through, you know, trying to make their life goals and stuff.
Well, it's interesting you reference Ralph Metcalf. He was a true sportsman. He was a superstar track athlete at Marquette in the late 20s, early 30s, and he competed in the 1932 Olympics in Los Angeles for representing the United States. And so that's how good he was. He and Jesse Owens, I think, were the best in the Midwest. Jesse Owens in 36 and Metcalf in 32. And he lost the 200-meter race, and it was determined that his lane was measured wrong, so he actually ran, I think it was 201.5 meters, and he barely missed out on some guy that won the gold medal. And they asked him, they found out about it, they said, we will run it again. And he said, no, he deserves the gold medal. He's very happy. I got my silver. I'm good. And, you know, they just said this is the truest sportsman in every, you know, every definition of the word. And then he later went on and represented an Illinois district in Congress for many years, and passed away right when I started in sports information as a student, right around 1978 or something. One of the first things we did was we did a release for Ralph Metcalf's death. So it was right there about 1978, 79, if I remember correctly. But it's interesting that you have a relationship, or you're hooked up. Your goals and his goals are really the same.
Actually, well, I knew about Ralph Metcalf growing up, because like you said, he was from the South Side and did a lot of stuff in the community. You know, once he went to Congress and stuff, I think it was, or whatever it was. And I did not know that Ralph Metcalf went to Marquette until I got to Marquette at the old gym, looking at those plaques that used to be up there.
Right,
and I looked up there and I saw Ralph Metcalf, the track man, and I was like, I didn't know Ralph Metcalf went to Marquette. So that's how that whole thing started. And, you know, it's just, it just shows you God works in mysterious ways to, you know, have the scholarship fund, and, you know, to have Nikki associated with Ralph Metcalf, that's truly an honor. And, you know, because we wasn't quite sure, you know, how we were going to make this work. So I had to reach out to people, you know, to get some ideas. And when they talked about the students that got the Ralph Metcalf Scholarship Award, that was something that was very important. And then, you know, I knew a lot of people through my days at Marquette that went through the EOP department at Marquette to get their degrees. A lot of the students that came from New York City, the Educational Opportunity Program, which was from a lot of underserved kids that and first generation graduates that was able to go to Marquette. So this is kind of, again, our way of giving back to a lot of our friends and getting them involved, because they were fortunate enough to be able to get the help from the ELP. So now we reach out to them to be able to support us to do some things for the next generation, and that's what it's all about.
Bo Ellis, a great husband, a great father. Your beautiful Christina, who has lived with cerebral palsy and done so gracefully.
Yes, yes.
And she's part of that too. It's Team
Absolutely.
Ellis when it comes to your event.
And to tell a story real quick about that, you know, when I talk to a lot of these kids, you know, I tell them that I have a child with a disability. She has cerebral palsy, but I told her that we're very blessed. It's a physical disability and not a mental. So I told her my daughter is in a power chair. She goes to school like everybody else. But one of the things that was said to us when Christina was in high school, after she graduated, this one lady had me take her out and they did all these tests, and they said that she would never be able to go to college because of her attention span and things like that. And Christina's mama taught her, never let anybody tell you that what you can't do. So another one of my most proudest moments is, so we started out, she went to community college, South Suburban, and it took a little while for us to figure out just how much she could take at a time. So first semester she had about 3 or 4 different classes, so we figured out that was too much. It was overbearing, so we started to cut it down and break it down. So the process was a little longer. In the end, you know, usually it's a 2-year program, but it took her 4 to graduate, you know, from the, and get her associate's degree. Then she was able to go on to Governor State University. The same way we had figured it out, couldn't give her too much, so a couple of classes a semester, and she got that done. And when I watched her graduate after them telling us that our daughter couldn't do it, so when I go and I talk to these kids, and sometimes, you know, some of these schools have kids with disabilities, I share that story. So I guess God has blessed me, you know, in a lot of ways, where having some things where other people might think that that's a bad thing, well, we've been able to make something positive out of it, and I think that's what life is all about.
And impacting people in a positive way on into eternity. It's one of the reasons you're a hero, my friend, a humble one, I know. But so maybe we switch gears a wee bit and talk about the Tanzania International Outreach. That's just amazing. Again, you and Craig Caston coming together, you got Sky Jen, Moonlight Graham. This is absolutely fantastic.
Well, I remember when Craig was first thinking about doing this. One day, I came to the office to see him. I was in town and I had some things, and he told me, he said, "Bo, I just took a trip to Tanzania, and I took my son and the family, but I wanted my son to really see how people live in third world countries and see how blessed he is." So he said, but while I was there, I was noticing when the kids were standing to wait to go across the street, he said, they looked like they were struggling to see and read the signs. And he said, I was thinking about how I could do something to help them. So make a long story short, through the process, he met somebody through the Archdiocese from Tanzania that was here in Wisconsin, and then their father was the Archdiocese in Tanzania, and he had a church here in Wisconsin, and that's how he got tied in, and he started the program. So what he did is, once he saw that, he put a program together. The first he started with the school kids. So they went into schools and they were giving free eye exams to the students at the schools to check, to see, you know, their depth and perception. And then from that, they were able to put things together right on the spot, because if you have glasses, it's like 0 to 12. So if it's like 10 or below, you can actually have lenses already prepared. They pop them in. So they were able to do that, and they were able to start giving the kids the glasses and stuff. So it started with the kids. So some years later, the young lady that runs that program for Craig and Skaj and Lisa Sweeney, and then another gentleman, Brett Bennett, they had been running. This was, when I went, that was their third time, and me and Candy went. So that was more of the adults. And we went around to different parts of Africa to see. Now, I've always wanted to go to Africa. That was one thing on my bucket list. But I was like, that's a long trip and stuff. So I ended up doing it. Lisa asked and Candy went with me. So we were able to go, and everything was done through the churches. So I watched these people, I mean, hundreds of people. We were there 7 days. So the first time it was at the hospital. Then we went to some rural areas.
That's a beautiful
and
picture,
stuff.
Bo. Oh,
yeah, so I just there help people to go down, point out where to go. But you can see these people were, it was unbelievable. And once I watched these people wait in line 3 and 4 hours. They never complained about anything. They smiled, and once they got their glasses and they came out, and the smile that I seen on their face, you know, that's the most important thing I think I've ever been a part of in my life, along with the other things. That was an unbelievable experience. And as you can see it there. Now see, this was a facility, that was a church that they had started to build in this one town, but they ran out of money, so they had to stop.
Wow.
So we still held it. So you can still kind of see the dirt, and that was kind of in a rural area of Tanzania, outer ways, but it was a tremendous experience. I've never seen anything like it. You can see the people sitting there, and they waited patiently. So what they did, they had numbers that they gave everybody. It was well organized. It was an unbelievable experience, and I've never felt so good about doing anything in my life. And for Candy and I to be able to do that, that was good. And you can kind of see them. They lined up. I kind of guided them, helped them, and learned a few words in Swahili, you know, so I can talk and communicate. But and you can see the young people in the green shirts. That was the team that they put together to actually run and do everything for them over there. So you can see that was a young ophthalmologist right there, but it was a tremendous experience. And then people waited patiently, and they got those new glasses, the kids and the older adults. But the program started with the kids. He did the kids the first couple of years, and then the time that Candy and I had a chance to go back, that was mostly the adults. And I'm talking about these people. Some of the older people you saw there, they were walking. It wasn't like somebody had a car to drive them. They get on the back of these little motorcycles and they drive them to the facility. So they tried to put them in different places where it was easy accessibility for a lot of them, but a lot of them still had to travel a long way, whether it was walking or paying $1 to get on the back of the bike. But those people was there. You know, they didn't complain. I'd never seen one person complain. They had their lunch. They just waited patiently. And when I went back and I told Craig, I hugged him. I like, you should feel good about yourself, because I saw it firsthand what you're doing for those people. And I like, this is a wonderful thing. And I've never seen anything like it. And I was just glad to be able to be a part of it, to let him know from my eyes, you know, how important and what he's been able to do. And I think at that time they had did about over 40 to 50,000 eye exams in a 2 or 3 year period. So tremendous program. And it's funny how it all transpired when he told me about what he liked to do. So we've had an unbelievable relationship. But Mr. Caston is a tremendous person, has a great heart, and that's what life is all about.
Well, you're kindred spirits in that regard with the big hearts. Bo, being there, you and Candy, and seeing firsthand for years, people haven't been able to see, whether older people or even the kiddos, the joy that they must have had, and their world came alive. What was that like for you to witness that?
That was, it's almost it's hard to even explain. More than me being able to explain, it just touches your heart. It touched a part of me internally that I never knew existed when I saw that. And it made me understand how blessed that I've been. And and when I go to talk to the kids, I tell them about that experience. And I tell them the next time you feel that things hasn't been right for you, or things is, you know, you don't have this and that, I like think about these kids and what I've seen over there, and not even being able to see and having a program to get glasses. But it touched a part of my soul that I never knew existed, but it was a great thing to be able to watch.
Thank you for sharing that. That's just absolutely incredible. Why don't we talk a little bit about SkyGen and an incredible basketball league? John, I'll let you tee it up or tip it off with Bo.
Sure, do that. Just want to mention that this wasn't a one-time missionary work going to Tanzania. I think as part of the foundation, this is now ongoing. They set up an organization that's helping people to this day in Tanzania.
Absolutely, and actually, like I said, Brett and Lisa, they had been twice, so the time that we went, that was actually their third time going back. So they had the young kids first, then another group, and then when we went back, that's when they opened it up and broadened the horizon and went in and started to get older people to be a part of it. So, you know, it's been a process, and it's probably over 80,000, and then COVID has slowed things down a little bit the last 3 years, but it's still in motion, and it's an unbelievable
Would you go
thing.
back, Bo? You and Candy?
My wife says she would. That's a long
Yeah.
way, Tom. That 18 hours on the plane, man, and these long legs. I love it. But my wife says she'll do it again. I don't know. I'll never say never,
Right.
but that one time was good for me because that's an 18-hour trip. I think we went Chicago to Amsterdam, and then Amsterdam to Tanzania. So
There's a great pick right there, huh?
Yeah, so that was actually, we went on a safari. So we were there that whole week, and then that Saturday before we came back that Sunday, we went on a safari. So that was out on the safari, and big tree right there, but great experience. I got a lot of pictures and fun memories and lifetime memories. And like I said, that was always one of my bucket lists, to be able to go to Africa. So can't thank Mr. Caston enough for being able to have that opportunity, and being an ex-pro player, you know, and talking basketball with them people. They enjoyed that part about it also. So, you know, that's what life is all about. Like I said, the thing that counts most in life is what we do for others, and I live by that motto.
Boy, you don't say anymore. When you get a line like that, that's it. We wrap. Thanks again, Bo.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Bo.
John.